Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. Before we jump into this video, I would like to welcome those who are new to the channel. This is the Angry Man Podcast where we're always dropping boxing related content, so make sure you become a subscriber. And for those of you who are returning patrons, make sure you smash the like button so people can find this content, or the dislike button if you don't like the content, but make sure that you are engaging. Jay, we had an unusual fight this morning. This fight was at 7 a.m. in the morning over in Japan. And it was between Brian Norman Jr. and Sasaki. And Brian Norman just demonstrated why he is the WBO champion. Now, many people thought that this was going to be a fight that would generate fireworks. And essentially it did, Jay. However, Brian Norman showed a skill set, a skill level that was far superior to Sasaki, catching most of his big punches and delivering his own damage. And that's essentially what I like to see, Jay, out of young fighters, right? You want to see young fighters be able to avoid punches and deliver their own damage. That's what boxing is, not just getting on the back foot and moving and pot shotting. So Brian Norman, devastating performance, knocked him down 2 times in the first round and ultimately knocked him cold in round 5 with a devastating left hook. And then subsequent to that, called out Boots. Now, Jay, I'm gonna let you spit the bar because it was bars. But as I mentioned before, and I got a lot of love and respect for Jaron Ennis. I think he's a fantastic boxer. But the notion that Brian Norman Jr. wouldn't even be competitive in a fight against Jaron Boots Ennis never made any sense to me whatsoever at all. I think Brian Norman is, and people like to keep going back to some of the performances that we saw out of Brian Norman in the past. I'm basing everything off of the last 2 performances and just personal conversations that I've had the opportunity to have with Brian Norman Sr. and understanding a little bit more the intricacies of some of those camps and things of that nature. I fully expect to see Brian Norman operating at this level versus the level we've seen in the past. I'm not going to go into any details associated with that, but at the end of the day, I think Brian Norman Jr. is a lot better than what people are giving him credit for. And I always thought that a fight between he and Jaron Boots Ennis would be incredibly competitive because of the skill set and this notion that, I don't know where this come from, that Karen Chukazian all of a sudden is like this monster at 147 pounds that everybody would struggle with because Jaron Ennis had some difficulties with, not real difficult. I mean, he won every round, right? But demonstrated some ability to cause some problems for Jaron Ennis. Now, all of a sudden, he's a monster. That's not the case. I think Brian Norman Jr. would beat Karen Chukazian quite decisively, similar to what Boots was able to accomplish. So I know this fight is not going to happen because Boots moved up. He did diss Boots. And again, I'm going to let you take that bar. But I will tell y'all this. This isn't a fight that's necessarily permanently on the shelf because I believe if you just look at the physique of Brian Norman, I think he has the ability to carry weight at 154 pounds and power there as well. So I think there's potential for that fight to still occur, but sometime in the future. Jay, what are your thoughts on the performance of Brian Norman Jr. and the call out of Jaron Ennis after the fight?
Man, like when I was watching the fight, I was a little hesitant, I was worried at first.
Yeah.
Because I saw Sasaki. I hate fighters that throw those overhand looping punches.
Yeah.
They can still get behind your guard. Even when you block, you'll still feel it. And all it takes is to hit you right behind the ear and knock you off your equilibrium.
Yeah.
But Norman was on point. He was calm. He was calm like he was a 15-year vet in there.
Yep.
Dropped him twice in the first round, and he still remained calm. That's why I was like, Norman, he might hit that next level. You're not saying because of the fighter here. We're not saying Sasaki is like a Florida or Boots or anything like that. He's a formidable opponent because he got power in both hands. But the fact that a young fighter like Norman will remain calm all 5 rounds. He was just calm, just chilling, and he implemented his game plan and stuck to it to a T. And you can see even when Sasaki was blocking, his rights and his lefts were moving him. He's getting moved by every punch that Norman hit him with, pretty much.
Exactly.
So Norman had power in both hands, and when he put him out that left, as soon as I saw it land, I was like, "Ooh, he ain't getting up, Jim. He ain't getting up. He ain't getting up." I was like, "Oh man." I saw it. They had to get Stretch out there. He did. He was alert as they got him outside the ring. So I'm glad to see that. I wish him the best for a speedy recovery. But yeah, Norman a problem. He's a problem. He's athletic, and the fact that seniors in his corner, he's coaching them up perfectly. He's listening to it. You know what I'm saying? He's real receptive to it. You see whatever senior tells him, he's in the ring replicating what he's supposed to do. You know, he's defensively responsible. He got hit one time, as I saw a commentator was saying something. He got hit, but he went with it as well. So it wasn't like he got flushed. So him and Boots, they got to meet up. Obviously, it's not going to be at 147. Boots just said last night that he's going to 154. So I can see him going at 154. To your point about B Norman, as far as his physique, he's 20.
Yep. Look like I lost Jason. Oh, there you go. You
People ain't gonna mess with Norman no more.
No, I agree with that.
Devin Haney, that left hook gave Devin Haney. He may have wet himself or messed himself after seeing that hook that Sasaki took, because Devin Haney has nightmares from left hooks from Ryan, and Ryan don't hit as hard as B Norman. Sorry, y'all, he don't. He may be a faster hook. He ain't a harder puncher than Norman. But I like the fight that Norman was calm after the fight. He was like, I was wanting a certain fight next, but when they heard B Norm the storm coming, and you know what happened when a storm come, you grab your boots and run. I was like, oh man, he did smooth with it. His dad was in the background. Yeah, he ran, they grabbed your boots and run. So I like that. You know, we're not going to see that fight next, unfortunately. I wish Boots would have remained, but according to Boots, he was pretty much outgrowing that weight. So it was harder for him. He wanted to be at his best. He didn't want to get caught slipping, trying to make a lower weight and get caught like that. So I was like, okay, cool. But 154 is going to happen there. I think 147, y'all don't notice, man. B Norman here. He is here, and he ain't going nowhere. Barrios. Who else is at 147? The other two belts are vacant now. So I mean, Rolly. You gotta see him, man. Anyone else? Norman, hey, 147 is Norman's the take.
I agree with that. And I think at some point, what ends up happening with a fighter, specifically, I'm talking about Brian Norman, and you can see these things happening sometimes because every fighter has a different path. You can see, at least in my opinion, where the light is going off for Brian Norman Jr. And he's now demonstrating and fighting at a level that is much higher than what we've seen in the past. And I just think he's going to continue to demonstrate that skill set. And you're hearing the confidence in some of the things that he is saying. And he got that Southern swing. He got that Southern twang. He got that Southern type of confidence and trash talking, if you will, where he's now, you can see that he's, not only does he have the skill set, he now understands that he has the skill set. And when you have that, you're going to be a real tough fighter to beat. You guys tell us what you think in terms of the performance of Brian Norman Jr. as it relates to Sasaki. Do you believe that at some point he and Jaron Ennis will meet up in the ring? Personally, we believe so. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media, and we are out.